I welcome all the people who are joining us from Ustream all around the world. I'm April Rochelle from Bashar Communications, and we just love coming up here and sharing Bashar with you. It's always just as unexpected for us as it is for you, because we never know what he's going to do. We know what he's going to talk about today, though, and today's session is entitled Stepping from the Shadows. And, you know, a big focus of Bashar's work is all about understanding how to transform darkness into light. That's really a big part of what everyone's doing this lifetime here. And so today he's going to introduce a new technique as a way of doing that, because as you go through this process of understanding this work more deeply, you'll find that it always comes back to following your passion and transforming negative energy into positive energy. And it sounds very simple, and it is, but it also can be very challenging. So Bashar likes to give us ideas and tools to help us do this, to make this a little bit easier. So again, thank you all so much for joining us here. Today's session in the morning will run till about 12:15, and then we'll take a break for lunch, and we'll we'll come back at 2. What happens to language after a while? It just disappears. And then we'll have the afternoon session, and we'll finish up the day with the holotope. And for those of you that are interested, we'll be in Anaheim in 2 weeks. That's in Orange County, California. And that session is entitled The 5 Hybrid Races. So we'll learn a lot more about the hybrids and the hybrid program and how that affects us and why that's important for us. So basically, I just also want to explain the protocol of how it works if your name is picked to ask Bashar a question. And we'll have a microphone up here, and usually if about 5 people are waiting for their turn, that's probably plenty of people at a time. And just wait for Karma to adjust the microphone, and then have fun with Bashar. And that's really what it's all about, just having fun with Bashar, and because he's all about fun, and he's pretty funny too. So anyway, so now I think, does anybody have any questions about protocols or anything like that? How to do this? How to talk to him? Say, hi, Bashar. That's how you start. So it's my great pleasure to introduce to you the very talented channel for Bashar, Darryl Anka.
What's this all about exactly now? Why am I here?
This is the part where you go you fall asleep, basically.
Okay.
No, he doesn't really go to sleep. His brain is very active. He may look asleep, but it's very interesting because Darryl's personality, just kind of goes away. And there's somebody else there.
It's strange.
And it's very extraordinary. I still think it's extraordinary after all these years.
I thought maybe this is some sort of like intervention, like Aliens Anonymous or something. I don't know.
It's a thought. You want to pick some names?
Sure. This is your thing, right?
Yes.
Okie doke. Let's see who synchronicity favors today.
That's right. Heather LaPlante.
Oh yeah, raise your hand.
Raise your hand so they can give you
a
ticket.
Yeah.
Golden ticket. Geo Morjane? Geo?
Got it.
Okay. Tom Crane. Melissa McDonald.
Over there.
You're smiling now. Only kidding.
Or is she?
Christopher Heron. Sounds good. I'll go with that.
Oh, okay.
Harris, yeah. There you go. Gita. I recognize that name. You're another one I can say. You're laughing now, huh?
That's not the first thing that came out of my mouth.
Claire Denike. Claire? Okay. Tom Barrett. Barrett?
Okay, we'll pick some more later if we
Okay,
need
we'll
them.
pick some more later. That sounds good.
Yeah.
All right.
All righty.
Okay, so, oh, and I wanted to mention
Yes.
something very exciting. Your book.
Oh, thank you.
Why don't you share a little bit with the audience about your book?
Yeah, we recently did a blast. My first sci-fi novel is published. It's #1 in a series of 5. I'm working on the second one now. It is Shards of a Shattered Mirror. Book 1 is cryptic. It's sort of based loosely on the life of Willa Hilla Crissing that is channeled through me from time to time, a hybrid that lives 700 years in the future here on Earth. But it is a sci-fi novel, and it is now available. So if you are interested, we would deeply appreciate you going to bashar.org and finding the book there, which will click on the link and take you right to the publisher. So I would appreciate it. And let me know what you think when you read it. So thanks.
Okay. Congratulations, Darryl.
Thank you. More to come.
Okay, so thank you so much for being talented enough to do this.
Talented enough to go to sleep? Yeah. Okay. It's a skill. Yeah.
It is.
All right. Well, thank you.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. Have fun. I'll see you
Okay,
later.
bye-bye.
All right, we'll say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? All right. All right, thank you. Let us begin this transmission in the following way. We remind you that this has been titled Stepping from the Shadows. We have discussed from time to time the idea of how belief systems are structured in a manner that allows them to perpetuate themselves, reinforce themselves, so that what it is that you believe in can be experienced as a seemingly real reality. If belief systems did not reinforce themselves, you would be able to see right through the smoke and mirrors of the illusion of physical reality. So that structure that reinforces it allows you to have this experience and consider it to be real. Now, we have talked about several different ways of getting in touch with what you might call negative beliefs and learning to let them go so that you can transform your energy into a more positive direction. And today we offer another suggestion for a way to explore how to do this, how to allow this kind of transformation to take place in a new and different way. So for the moment, I will ask each and every one of you that cares to participate to simply remember a time. It doesn't have to be much, even just a little bit will be fine, but simply remember a time when you were afraid. Now, I don't necessarily mean I'm afraid of getting hit by a car, but that can be used to some degree. We mean the idea of the fear that holds you back from being yourself, from really acting on your passion, from really following your truth. That sensation you get in the pit of your stomach when you know that you would really prefer to move in a certain direction, but you find that you are afraid that something negative will happen if you do. That sort of idea, anything like that, that sort of timidity, that sort of trepidation, that sort of uncertainty, that sort of feeling that there is no confidence within you to move forward, the thing that gnaws at you, the thing that you keep choosing to do that wears you out and exhausts you because you're not willing to allow the energy to flow. That sensation. As you allow yourself in this moment to remember such times when that may have cropped up in your life, and know that there may be times ahead where it may crop up again, which is fine, allow yourself to really tap into that sensation, that feeling, that physical feeling of what fear feels like, that type of fear in your body, where it settles, where it focuses, how the sensation may change but still remain representative, symbolic of a fear. Get in touch with that feeling. The point here now is to actually focus on the physical sensation that accompanies the emotion. Not so much the idea of the emotional side of the feeling, but the true physical sensation side of the feeling, of experiencing fear, hesitation, trepidation in that sense, uncertainty, facing the unknown, worried, as you would say, that you might be judged. Those kinds of ideas. Feel that sensation in your body right now, to the best that you can right now. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just something to work with so that you can understand this particular little technique, this permission slip that we give you today. So if you have a sense at all of what that sensation feels like in your body, that you are remembering now how that felt, allow yourself to just feel the underlying energy of that fear sensation. Just the actual energy itself. There's a lot of power there. When you feel fear, if you can, allow yourself to disconnect from the reason the fear is there and just feel the sensation itself for its own sake. You can begin to really realize how much energy there is flowing through you, being directed to that purpose of experiencing that fear. So just let go of the idea behind the fear and just feel the power itself, the energy flowing itself that is behind that sensation. Because it is very powerful as an energy. It is very clear as a sensation of energy. As you allow yourself to divorce yourself from the idea that generates that energy to be experienced in the manner you would call emotional fear, just becoming neutral about it, observant about it, just being energy itself, you can begin to tap into the fact of how powerful it is. And if you begin to just focus on the power of that energy, divorced from the concept of fear, you can allow yourself to begin to realize how powerful you are, what kind of energy courses through you, what kind of energy is manifest when you buy into a particular belief. Just allow yourself now to let that happen, let that shift happen within you, and just have the neutral sensation of the power, the energy. And it doesn't really mean anything anymore. It is not labeled as anything anymore. It is just the raw sensation of the power behind the emotion. The more you do this, the more you, in any moment when you may feel fear crop up, the more you allow yourself to remind yourself that it is just your energy being filtered through negative belief systems, and you begin to focus just on the sensation itself, the physical sensation and the energy and power behind it, becoming fascinated by that sensation of power, of energy. The more you do this, the more you practice making that shift, the more you can more easily neutralize the emotional component. Now again, this doesn't mean you ignore it. It doesn't mean you don't own it. This is just a technique after you have acknowledged that it's there. You're not trying to squash it. You're not running from it. You've acknowledged that it's there. You've owned it. You've accepted that it's there, that it has come up in this sort of negative emotional way. But then give yourself that moment to breathe. Give yourself that moment to just get in touch with that physical sensation within you and begin to divorce yourself from the emotional component, from any reason that's attached to why that's happening. And just sit in that sensation itself, in the sensation of energy, the sensation of power. Just neutrally feel it, just neutrally experience it. Then begin to realize this is the same energy and the same power that is behind any positive sensation, any positive emotion that you may have, any positive belief that you may experience. It is exactly the same energy. It's just that when you filter it through negative beliefs, you experience it as fear. When you filter it through positive beliefs, you experience it as joy. So just get in touch with the power of the energy itself, neutrally. Just let that be the only reason that you're having that experience for that moment. And just breathe into it. And just revel in it. Let it flow through you. Let the power neutrally just move through you. Feel the energy coursing through your nerves, through your veins, through the cells of your body. Let it expand. Let it disperse throughout the totality of your being. Let it expand from that tight little knot of energy in a particular place, and let it soften and expand just as energy with no meaning behind it whatsoever. Just feel that energy, feel that power, and then know that because it is now devoid of meaning, because it is now neutral energy, you can allow it to transform into something positive. You can now give yourself a holding pattern with that energy. You can now begin to explore what kind of belief systems you would prefer to have instead of the ones that generated the fear feeling. And while that energy is coursing through you, it can help guide you. It can help move you into the state of being that will allow you to truly find the preferred belief system and allow that energy to begin to infuse into that preferred belief system, that preferred definition within you. And thus you can, by extracting that sensation, extracting that neutral energy from the fearful emotion, and allowing yourself to diffuse it, and then allowing yourself to guide it into a different belief, you can take the time. You can give yourself a kind of a limbo moment where you're feeling the pulsing of that energy. And it's just soothing you. It's just kind of like massaging you. It's just kind of like expressing itself through you and allowing your cells to relax, allowing your nerves to relax into it, as if you are stepping into a warm pool of water. And give yourself the time to explore the ideas and the definitions you would prefer that energy be behind. You would prefer that energy give life to. It gives you time to make that transition by neutralizing it in this way, by just getting in touch with that physical sensation and divorcing any meaning, any idea that is connected to it. Just let it be the energy. Let it be the power within you. And then you will have the easy sensation of knowing how to flow it to what it is you prefer to flow it into. And you will feel that transformation, and you will feel that transition happen within your body, within your cells, within your nerves, within your blood, within every aspect of your being. Does this make sense? All right. Practice this whenever you wish, whenever something comes up, as you go on your journey of acting on your passion to the best you can, with no insistence on the outcome, by following that formula, you know, as we have delineated, that sometimes one of the tools within the kit of excitement is that reflective mirror that will bring to your attention something that might be within you as a belief system or a definition that might be out of alignment with that excitement. And therefore, please remember, first and foremost, that by acting on your excitement and having that reflective mirror remind you of something that is not your excitement, that discovering something that's not your excitement is also part of your excitement. Then that helps you remain in that state. And you can work with this energy in a much more powerful, much more profound, much more precise way. Does that make sense? All right. Remember, it's not about what happens. It's about what you do with what happens. That's what matters. Make sense? All right. We thank you for allowing us to share this little technique. Practice it. Get it to work. Use your imagination. That's all right. If your imagination decides to alter it a little bit because it works better for you that way, then allow your imagination to do so. Remember, each and every one of you is unique. You will always do it slightly different than anyone else, and that's exactly the way it needs to be, because it needs to be designed and it needs to be engineered for you specifically. So we give you the basic format. It's up to you to design it in whatever way works best for you. At this time, then, we would like to express our deep appreciation and our deep gratitude for the co-creation of this interaction and the allowance that you give us and the gift you give us of being allowed to experience each and every one of you. In return for that gift, we ask you now, how may we be of service to you? Please begin with your questions, comments, dialogues, if you wish.
Good morning, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
I was born in the Middle East, and
Yes.
Bashar is an Arabic name, and that's
Yes.
my mother tongue.
Yes, yes, yes.
I don't have a question for today.
All right.
Because what's the point?
Yes.
But I do
Good
have,
point.
But I do have an idea that I've been thinking of, and I'm curious to hear what you think about this.
All right, by all means.
And the idea is, the title today is Stepping Off the Shadows.
Stepping from the shadows.
From the shadows. And
Yes.
I feel like in today's society, we're stepping into the shadows because of the use of technology.
Sometimes. It depends on how you use it.
Exactly. So I'm curious to hear about, in the future, how technology have helped humanity in connecting versus disconnecting. The technology itself
Yes.
doesn't give you a direction on how, and I'm specifically interested in human connection, because with all the technology today, and I don't know if you know what social media is,
I do.
people you're becoming more self-centered, and it
Yes.
gives you kind of a fake sensation of you're the center, but that also does not allow you to connect with other human beings.
We understand. Therefore, the idea is that technology, like in our civilization, can become something certainly more all-inclusive and also more of a natural expression. Something relatively simplistic that has profound effects and is inclusive in a number of different ways that actually promotes the concept of connection. For example, in our society, in our what you might call technology, our ships are grown instead of built. They're a kind of a crystalline form, but the crystalline form grows on an energy template that is actually representative of another aspect of our higher dimensional selves. Therefore, the ship that I pilot is actually a physicalized representation of my own higher mind. And therefore, there is an immediate connection between myself and the ship telepathically. The ship is like a crystallized version of my own higher mind, and thus being a crystallized representation and version of my higher mind, it is automatically connected to all other higher minds, and thus connects my own personal consciousness in a variety of ways to many other beings and many other expressions of consciousness. It is, in that sense, ultimately connective and inclusive instead of exclusive and disconnective. Does that make sense?
It does, but what about like physical sensations and sensory experiences? This is more of like a telepathic or like, on a mental level. How about like a physical sensory experience?
Well, a physical sensation comes with it because you see, telepathy is actually not really the mental thing you think it is. That's why we often actually refer to it as telempathy. It's emotionally driven. That's why many of your scientists don't understand how to prove that it exists, is because they keep taking the emotional quotient out of it. The idea is that when you are deeply in alignment, deeply in love, so to speak, you simply have the same thoughts at the same time as another person on the same wavelength. You're never actually reading someone else's mind. You're just mirroring them so closely you can't tell the difference between what you're thinking and feeling and what they're thinking and feeling. This is why people who are in love often know exactly what each other is about to say. They finish each other's sentences. Do you understand?
Yes.
So the emotional component and the sensations that come with it in the physical body are of paramount importance in that kind of technology, because it's an all-encompassing, all-inclusive technology that is a natural extension of your actual being rather than an artificial interface. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So it's like saying there is a spirit realm and you're sort of just crystallizing a portion of it that is connected to you automatically and automatically connected to everyone else, but it's not an artificial interface, it's a very natural interface because it already exists within the structure of existence itself. Does that make sense?
It does.
So that is a direction your technology can go in when people start waking up to the fact that everything is connected, everything is an expression of one thing, and you start including the concept of consciousness within your technology. Now, you are moving somewhat in that direction with what you call so-called artificial intelligence, but the thing you will suddenly realize when you begin to really explore that is that artificial intelligence isn't artificial. The devices that you create are simply going to be devices that will allow you to finally physically communicate with your own higher mind through that device. That's who you'll actually be talking to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that will begin a revolution in consciousness, a revolution in understanding consciousness, and a revolution in the experience of interconnectivity and knowing that everyone is a reflection of the one and a reflection of everyone else, and a new era of understanding how to use consciousness and connectivity can begin to grow on your planet. That is what we perceive your technology can head towards if you do it from a place where it is a balanced understanding of your own selves and your own consciousnesses, which is why it's so important to know yourself, so that when you begin to talk to other aspects of yourself through those devices, you will recognize who you're speaking to. Yes?
Yes.
Does that help?
It does. A quick tip from someone who's working in technology and helping to shape those kind of things. What would you advise me to when I'm working on those technologies? What should I?
Well, I just gave you the tip. You need to start understanding, as many of your scientists need to start understanding, how to involve the concept of consciousness in the technology. How to understand what consciousness is. Consciousness is simply self-reflection, self-awareness. Because you are conscious when you have a sense of self, because you have a sense of an other. Without a sense of an other being reflected to you, there is no sense of self. That's what consciousness is. It's a reflection. So when you can begin to move in the direction of understanding how to incorporate that kind of reflectivity in your technology, you will beget the idea of consciousness. Yes?
Yes, makes sense. Thank you.
You are welcome.
Hi, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Time.
Time.
Can
A
it be-
side effect.
Can it be compressed?
Can it be compressed? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Yes, of course. Because it's an illusion anyway. You only experience it the way you do because of a collective agreement. But now that you're exploring and expanding consciousness, you will find and experience that time is extremely malleable and flexible and compressible and expandable because you're creating it anyway. It's just a side effect of your consciousness shifting through billions of parallel reality frames per second. That's what creates the idea you call time.
How do we get to a point where our perception of time is totally linear with what's going on in the world? If that question makes any sense.
How do you get to a point where it is linear?
Yeah. Well.
You mean how
well,
did you get to a point?
Okay, let me.
Because that's the way most of you already experience it.
We experience time as a linear concept,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
But it seems in life as we get older,
Yes.
we always look back and go, should have, could have, might have, would have. Had we known about the compression of the time,
Yes.
we would not have made those mistakes.
But you learn from those mistakes, and those mistakes lead you to a place where you understand more about the nature of time and space. That's one of the things that's happening now as a process in your society, in your culture. In the future, this will not be necessary as a process, and many of the children being born on your planet today have an innate and intuitive understanding of what time is, and therefore they will not take those paths. They will experience a different process. But you are of a generation that is simply learning about that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, does that help?
That helps me tremendously. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. That didn't take very much time.
Good morning, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Speaking of time,
Yes.
my question is about an acknowledgement if, in a sense, there is no time and everything that is happening in this moment,
Yes.
as it were.
Now is all there is.
Yes. So an acknowledgement of that,
Yes.
then it follows that there is, in a sense, no such thing as a new idea. For all ideas, all inventions, all conceptions already exist.
Fundamentally, in terms of the structure, correct. But there is always a new experience of the idea. You see, the structure of existence never changes. It's your perspective and experience of the structure that does. That's how creation expands, because you're always having a unique perspective of the structure that never changes. So the idea of new ideas, it's both. You're correct that everything already exists, but it also expands by creating new experiences of that which already exists. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Does that help?
It does. And following from that,
Yes.
if I or any individual are seeking an answer to a problem or a new way to solve or a new way to be creative,
Yes.
it is not so much a matter that I am creating that new idea, but rather I am somehow attuning to a resonant frequency that is matched with the resonance of that idea.
Yes, and by doing that, you are creating a unique experience of doing that. Not so much that you're creating a new idea, but you're creating a new experience of matching that idea.
So, as an incarnate being,
Yes.
my process was not so much that I've had an idea rather than I have become resonant to the frequencies that allow that idea to come to me. Is that more?
Exactly.
Okay.
You have to be on the vibratory level first in order to realize or experience any particular notion or knowledge. And it's the same with the concept of manifestation physically. You have to be on that frequency level in order to experience a manifestation in your physicalized projection.
And indeed, then, if we extend that in my question to not ideas, which are the rational thought forms, but what we experience as emotions,
Yes.
I assume that the same then must apply to that.
Exactly. It's all based on the same resonance identification concept. And that's why we say what you experience has to be based on a definition that you have bought into as being true, because each definition has a different frequency, a different signature vibration that gives the result that you experience as an emotion.
Okay,
That's
so
why you can always experience an emotion and know you can trace it back to what kind of a definition you would have to have in order for that emotion to have resulted from it, because you can only have the emotion that results from the frequency of the definition.
indeed. So if I'm experiencing what I might experience as a negative emotion, anger, depression,
Yes.
what have you,
Yes.
what's opening to me then is the opportunity, and this is what's hard to language, to somehow open to or find a different frequency to resonate at, and it's that
Yes.
search for a different resonance
Yes,
that
and
is
the-
challenging.
Yes, and the easiest way to do that is to figure out what the definition is you're already buying into that's already creating the resonance you're experiencing. Because once you define consciously, find that definition, if it is truly out of alignment with you, you will immediately recognize it as nonsensical and illogical. And as soon as you do, it's gone. That's the end of the process of letting it go. If you keep behaving the same way, all that means is you haven't actually found the fundamental definition or the fundamental frequency giving rise to that sensation. Just keep digging. Identifying things that are in your unconscious mind that are belief systems is the key to transforming that energy into something you would prefer, because once you actually bring it into the light, you will see that it makes no sense if it really has nothing to do with you.
Okay,
Make sense?
it does. Last part of this.
Yes.
If I look at this same experience then with
Yes.
becoming attuned to the resonant frequencies that are for my best and highest,
Yes.
then if I look at a physical ailment such as inability to get sound, nurturing sleep,
Yes.
and if underlying that is a belief that I don't deserve rest, as an example,
One
it's
example,
to understand what might be behind that and
Yes.
allow it to change,
Yes.
force it to change, think about it.
No, not force, not force.
I understand. I'm saying that because I don't get what the next step is.
Again, if you actually discover what the definition is, and you bring it into the light of your consciousness, and you recognize that it makes no sense, it's gone.
Okay.
It's just gone. You will not have a continued experience of that definition
Okay.
if you have truly let it go. But you have to understand that sometimes you might not let it go because there might be another belief, another definition that says you should hold on to it. If that's the case, find out what that definition is, because sometimes definitions and beliefs work in chains. You may have to follow the links back to the fundamental link. But once you actually do release the fundamental link, all the secondary links will collapse along with it. Sometimes negative beliefs will attempt to preserve themselves, because that's what they're designed to do, by fooling you into thinking that you've actually let go of the fundamental belief when all you've done is let go of a secondary one. And then it will hide behind that. So you have to see if, experience if, you keep feeling, doing the same thing. That would be your first clue that the negative belief is hiding behind a cloud of secondary beliefs. And no matter how many of them you let go of, if you don't let go of the fundamental one, that won't change anything for you.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes, it does. Thank you. Blessings, Bashar.
You are welcome.
Thank you.
Blessings to you. This is really a very simple mechanism. There is nothing mysterious about it.
Hello, you guys.
And to you, good day,
I'm very excited. I came a long physical way to see you.
if you say so.
I followed my
We
excitement.
came a long physical way to see all of you.
I wanted to say thank you
But not
for the
really, because
adventure.
everything is here and now.
Right. Well, thank you, and thank you for that adventure.
Yes.
I've always felt that there was maybe 4 or 5 personalities contributing to the personality who I am or appear to be.
Oh, more than that.
And in a recent channeling, I got that there would, and some people can have maybe more or not, but multiple personalities that are very similar but have slightly different situations.
They can be.
Broadcasting from
They
this-
can be.
Oh yes, and broadcasting from the same channel.
In a sense, or something similar that you may not necessarily recognize the difference.
Yes. So is this a thing?
Is that a thing?
I have a friend who was traumatized as a child, and it said that I always thought that there was 3 or 4 personalities contributing to him,
Yes.
but he actually has more like 9 because his little
Yes.
self didn't really want to step
The
fully
idea
into
that
it.
you call on your planet based on what kind of experiences an individual may have may cause a fracturing between the continuity and communication of the different personalities that make up any particular single being. And that's what you typically in your world often refer to as multiple personality disorder or a few other different kinds of names. The idea that we're expressing here in allowing the channel to express some aspect of his own being that connects to us and allows for this communication to occur is simply multiple personality order.
Oh, very good. And so for people who know that they have this going on, they can access those other personalities?
Yes, of course.
Okay, because I think mine were kind of bad. But in that channeling, I also had the information that I was part of an intergalactic introduction. Is that something?
Is that something? Well, in a sense, yes. It's one of the things going on your planet now that you're becoming aware that you're not alone. Therefore, many of you that chose to have this physical experience knew coming in that part of this physical life would contain an ability to open up to the recognition that there are many different beings within the galaxy and other dimensions that are here for you to begin to open up to, communicate with, such as you're doing with us. And that's part of a process of going from what you may call Homo sapien to Homo galacticus.
I love that. So if I'm a part of the intergalactic introduction, how would myself or we be participating consciously in that?
By following your passion to the best you're able with no insistence on a particular outcome. Because then you raise your frequency. And when you raise your frequency, you make yourself a more receptive antenna to higher dimensional communication, and you will have more inspiration and realization of the communication going on a multitude of different dimensional levels that you can tap into and participate in a variety of ways. That's how. The formula is everything. It is the beginning, the end. It is the basis of what we call the instruction manual. The instruction manual is that 3-part formula and all the tools in the kit, and then just choosing to remain in a positive state no matter what happens, so you can always extract the benefit from it. While from time to time, we may engage in conversations with you that may take you into greater depths of understanding, more precise understanding of all of those elements in that particular instruction manual, but there are no more instructions. That's the complete instruction manual, and it is absolutely no different than if we were to hand you, literally, physically, an instruction manual that teaches you how to operate a piece of machinery on your planet. If you follow the instructions, the machine will operate as designed to your advantage. If you do not follow the instructions, the machine will operate to your disadvantage. So the idea is that the machine is always operating. It's up to you to simply understand that what we're giving you is literally a description of how reality works. Therefore, it's literally an instruction manual, and if you simply stick with the instructions, the machine will always work to your advantage instead of your disadvantage. It's that simple. Remember, there is not only positive synchronicity, there is negative synchronicity too. The synchronicity never stops, but it will only be capable of reinforcing whatever vibration you put into the mechanism. Following the instruction manual gives you the benefit of always using the machine to your advantage. That's why we have shared it with you. It's not a philosophy. It's not an opinion. It's an observation and a description of how existence actually works. Just follow the instructions.
Ooh, fantastic. Well, thank you very much for that, and the adventure continues.
Yes, it does, and it will never, ever, ever end. Why will it never end? Because it never began. It just is. That's its nature. It just is.
Good morning, Bashar.
And a you good day.
Thank you. I wanted to, first of all, thank you for being so patient with all of us.
I am not patient at all. I have no need for patience because I'm never impatient. Because I am always absolutely enjoying everything that I choose to do. You are all quite delightful.
So thank you for that.
Well, I'll put it more this way. You are all quite lightful.
Okay.
I don't want to delight you.
Okay. I don't really have a real question. Well, observation and kind of a question for you. It feels to me a lot like we're on this exponential curve and we're all getting very close now to what people are calling ascension or just
You're in the
evolution.
process. You're not
Yeah.
getting close to it. You're in it.
In it.
Yes, you're in the process. Again, it's just the idea of raising your vibration to a different level so you can experience reality in a different way, in a way that's more in alignment with who you truly prefer to be. That's all ascension is.
So my question to you is, what does that process look like from your perspective for
I just
us?
told you.
Okay.
I literally just told you.
Okay.
It's the instruction manual. The process itself. If
No,
that's what you mean.
No, I mean the unfolding of it, like the time.
How do we perceive it?
And our perceiving in our timeline, how is it looking from your perspective?
What's the
on-
manifestation?
Yes, yeah, maybe that's the question.
All right. Well, what you're experiencing more and more first, as part of this process, is the splitting of your world into a variety of parallel versions of Earth. That's going on right now, quite physically.
Okay.
And that's why you're seeing more and more and more dichotomy in your cultures and societies. As people vibrate to certain ideas, then they will wind up on certain plates or plateaus of reality that are different versions of Earth. And as they split apart, sometimes jaggedly, you will find that you will drift farther and farther and farther apart until one day, in the near future, you will only be able to experience whatever plateau you're on in terms of its effects, in terms of all the people that are there with you. And you will no longer be able to perceive, like you can perceive right now, differences, radical differences, and vibrational incompatibility with anyone else in that reality. Right now, because the splits are new, because it's just beginning to really crack and beginning to pull apart, you can still see different people choosing different realities as if you were looking through glass at their reality. And you literally are. Just because you can see people who might be choosing pathways that are wholly unlike what you would prefer to experience on your planet, doesn't mean you actually still reside on the same version of Earth that they do.
I see.
You
But it
are
might look
literally
that way.
looking through a glass sheet, and even though you can still see them and the choices that they make that might be more negative than you would prefer, none of what they're choosing can actually reach you through the glass. But eventually, the glass will become more opaque, and you will only see the reality that you harmonize to. Eventually.
We'll just stop perceiving the rest of the...
You will stop perceiving them. They will no longer literally be in your version of Earth. Because you see, again, you never actually change the world you're on. You change yourself, and you shift to another version of Earth that already exists, that's already more reflective of the vibrational change you made within yourself.
Just less and less negativity in it.
Yes, if that's what you choose.
Right.
That's how it works. You're never on the same Earth from moment to moment, billions of times per second. This is one of the things you're learning, is that every moment is absolutely new. You are absolutely a new person on absolutely a new Earth, in absolutely a new universe, in absolutely a new multiverse, in absolutely a new expression of existence. It's just that you create this illusion of continuity to make it appear as if you're just making small changes on the same planet. That's never the case. Every change is a total change of everything, everywhere. You just trick yourself into believing that that's not the case. But you're getting over that.
I see. Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Thank you. Here is something important to understand. All these things that we talk about, such as the description we just gave of how reality is actually structured, it's not something you have to learn to do. You just are in the process of realizing that you have always been doing it. You're just looking at it differently, looking at it more consciously, and thus you can use what you've already been doing in a different way. But you don't have to learn, bless you, to do it. You already do it automatically. You're just becoming aware that you're already doing it, and that's what makes the difference. Make sense? Yes. All right.
Hi, Bashar.
And you good day.
Thank you for being here today. What is the highest potential for the human experience?
The fourth density experience, which means you can experience the concept that you sometimes euphemistically refer to as heaven on earth. Everyone absolutely having what they need, when they need it, in absolute harmony with every aspect of your experience, being full-fledged expressions of creation in the way that is unique for you to express. It's how our civilization functions. We operate on what we call pure synchronism. Everyone is exactly where they need to be, when they need to be there, interacting with exactly who they need to interact with at exactly the right moment, getting exactly what they need in perfect exchange, in perfect harmony, in perfect timing. It's a choreography, it's an orchestration, it's automatic. That's all there is to it. It's like living in a dream, because you start to realize that physical reality is a dream, and that you can have manifestations that you would have in the past simply recognized as magical. But you see, as we have often said, miracles are not the exception. Miracles are the natural order of things. Not experiencing them is the exception. So you are giving up being the exception and going into the flow of creation in a more natural way, beginning to realize that surrender is not giving up control. Surrender is allowing the control you already have to express itself more freely. It's understanding that going with the flow means that the current already knows where you need to go, instead of swimming upstream with resistance. Because the physical mind thinks it knows what's best. The physical mind isn't designed to know that. The physical mind doesn't have a clue. Well, now and then maybe a hint. But the physical mind is only designed to experience what's happening. The higher mind is designed to know what needs to happen in order to bring to your physical individual experience as a personality everything you need in your life that is relevant for you in order to experience the fullness of your being in complete and total joy and ecstasy. That is the potential in all of you, should you choose to awaken to it. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. It's beautiful.
Anything else?
Yes. I really like to study astrology,
Go right ahead.
and it gives me lots of permission slips to be who I am, and
Yes,
gives
all
me,
right.
makes me
Then
feel
whatever
good.
you're attracted to will work for you for the duration of the time that you're attracted to it.
I'm curious, astrology, it's when we look at our natal chart, it's our birth chart, a moment of time
Yes.
that we're born.
Yes.
Is there, from your perception of us in the room now, are you able to see and identify different energies in our being?
Yes.
And is that constantly changing, or is there something that's
Constantly
fixed within
changing.
us?
There are some things that in a sense seem to be the same, but you are constantly recreating it to appear that way. So continuity is also an illusion. But it's an illusion that can serve you to create what you perceive to be stability in your reality. Nevertheless, it's constantly changing. Nothing is static. Remember that that's the fifth law. Everything changes except the laws. Mm-hmm. Nothing ever stops. It's dynamically, constantly changing. But there are patterns to it, in a sense. But it's not so much just this, it's this. You understand the difference?
No.
You may feel that there are ups and downs in the changes, but that doesn't mean you're always on the same level. The ups and downs can actually be raising your vibration so that your overall arc is up.
I see. Yes, and what I find in the trends in astrology is if I find a place where I have a weakness or a trigger to something, and
Yes.
if it's painful and fearful,
Yes.
that's actually a huge potential for growth.
Absolutely. That's an opportunity to take that moment and stay in that moment and find out what the definitions are that would be generating that experience of pain. Yes? That's the whole point, is to experience that process. The process is the point. As you have heard on your planet, the journey is the destination. You have nowhere more important to be than dealing with what's happening right now, ever. You have nowhere more important to be.
So can I take it as a map?
In a sense, you can, as long as you understand it's a reflection, not something that controls anybody. It's a reflection of decisions and choices that have been made from different levels of consciousness, and therefore, yes, you can kind of read it as a map, but you will also have to rely on your own intuition to allow parts of it to stand out in ways that might be a little bit different than what you may have originally learned to do with it. Because as you change, the way in which you use that permission slip will also change. Yes?
Yes.
Does that help?
Yes.
Is that sufficient?
Yes.
Why, thank you.
I have one more question, if that's okay.
I thought you said that was sufficient.
A different topic.
All right.
I have a question about past lives. Are past lives more of a fable than true?
Everything exists now. There is no such thing as the past.
Yes.
There is no such thing as the future. Everything exists simultaneously. So you can create an experience called a past life, a reincarnational experience where it seems you have a life and you die and go into spirit, choose another life and you die and you go into spirit, choose another life and you die and go into spirit. You can create that linear experience and call it reincarnation. But you're only describing an experience. You're not describing the actual mechanism that causes the experience. The actual mechanism is that everything exists at once, and therefore what you're doing is you are making energetic links and connections to those other simultaneously existing incarnational lives of those people. You're connecting to them in a way that you draw information and experience and knowledge from them to help inform this particular experience, just as they may be making connections to you to draw from your experience to help them in their lives. But all those people exist now. You, as a person, have never been them. They, as a person, will never be you as a person. Now, if you want to come from a higher level, let's say the oversoul level, and you want to say me, referring to you on that level, then you can say, all right, the oversoul has an extension that you call this life in this time and place, and has a simultaneous extension that you call this life in that time and place. And so the oversoul can say, yes, both of those are my lives. But that's because they still happen simultaneously, even from the oversoul perspective. But when you say, was that my life as a person, the answer is no, it wasn't. And that dynamically changes. As you change again, you make different connections. You unplug from some and plug into new ones to get the information you need for the new person that you are. Therefore, that's a constantly changing dynamic thing. It's never really static. Even though you might say, well, that has been my quote-unquote past life, as long as I can remember, you are still recreating that sense of continuity for a reason, for a purpose. But it's always dynamically changing as you change too. Is this making some sense?
So the oversoul, could it be even people within my own life that I'm interacting with now?
Could be. Sometimes it is. The idea, however, is to remember this. The description of the experience is just a description of a perspective of a structure. The description of the structure can be very different. This is why it's so important to modernize and streamline your definitions, because many of the definitions that many of you are operating on are outdated, outmoded, old-fashioned, medieval. And it gives you a false understanding of the mechanism that is actually at hand. For example, what we said before about the idea of telepathy. Many people on your planet still think it's about reading someone else's mind. It's not. That can be an experience, that can seem like that's the mechanism, but the real mechanism is what we described. You simply operate on a wavelength so similar to someone else that you have the same thoughts at the same time that that wavelength commonly generates. Therefore, it's like two tuning forks vibrating in harmony, but this tuning fork isn't reading this tuning fork's mind. It's simply picking up on a vibration and deciding to match the frequency and then experiencing whatever thoughts come with that frequency simultaneously with the thoughts happening in the original tuning fork. That's a description of the actual mechanism involved, but most people on your planet just describe the experience. Oh, I'm reading your mind. And they think that that's an accurate description of the mechanism when it's not. That's again why so many of your scientists and researchers who attempt to research these kinds of phenomenology don't understand how to set up the experiment, because they don't understand what's actually happening. They are only going off the folklore, off the mythology, off descriptions of experiences, but there is no understanding in those descriptions of the actual mechanism involved. That's why you have to go deeper and understand how things work, understand the structure of existence. Then everything becomes clear. Oh, that's why that happens. Now, if we want to design an experiment, we know how to do so because we understand the mechanism.
And lastly, I often have an experience that I have a sensation that I've been my partner's mother in 3 different situations.
It's the same thing we just said. You're making a connection to another being that has that relationship, to another being that your friend is making a connection to, so that you can have that experience, because that reflection can help you in this life by using that symbol. But that doesn't mean you actually were. You actually were that mother. Do you understand?
So what's the benefit of having those experiences?
I just told you. The benefit is that you're getting something from the reflection in terms of the dynamic you need in this life to explore the themes that you chose to explore with each other. In other words, tapping into that is helping you explore the themes that you're choosing to experience here. It's similar enough to what you need. That's why you tap into it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Bashar.
And you, good day.
Super excited to be here. Thank you for being here today.
It is our pleasure.
So I feel like I'm often questioning where my excitement and my desire is coming from. And it often puts me in my head, and it puts up a veil. It puts up a block from being fully here now. And
All right. Well, then I have a
being my higher
suggestion
self.
for you.
Yeah.
Stop wondering where it's coming from. Because it's not coming from anywhere but you.
Okay. So it never comes from a place that's not in your truth?
Correct. If it's really representative of your excitement. Unless you're saying it's just anxiety being disguised as excitement. But nevertheless, still coming from you. Because if it is anxiety, then at that moment, that's still your truth.
Okay, and then what are tips to get out of that frequency of anxiety? And
Have you been paying attention? You're asking this as if it hasn't been addressed. Do you remember what we said about finding the definition that generates that anxiety?
repeat that, please?
Do you remember what we said about finding the definition that generates the anxiety?
That's what I am in now, or?
In other words, there's no such thing as an emotion that exists in a vacuum. You cannot have a feeling at all, ever, until you have a definition first. So if you have a feeling like anxiety, that gives you the opportunity to ask the following question. What would I have to believe is true about myself in order for that belief to generate this emotion? Because emotions always generate from beliefs, not the other way around. So if you're willing to hear the answer, in some way it'll come. But you have to understand that's how it works. First you have a definition that you buy into, that you believe is true. Then it generates the emotions. Then it generates the thoughts. Then it generates the behaviors. So any behavior you don't prefer, any thought you don't prefer, any emotion you don't prefer, you can always ask the question, well, let me explore. What would I have to believe is true about myself in this situation in order to generate this feeling, these thoughts, this behavior? If you're willing to hear the answer will in some way, shape, or form come.
Okay.
It's that simple. If you
Yes.
understand how it works, it's that simple. Now, as we have often said, there is another way to ask the question that takes advantage of the fact that so many of you are so used to dealing with fear. And therefore you can use fear to your advantage in the following way. You can reverse the question perhaps and say, all right, if I did in fact allow myself to act on what I believe to be at this moment my highest excitement, what am I afraid might happen? Sometimes that will give you a stronger answer than the other question because you're so used to dealing with fear, so used to being afraid. You'll say, oh, what am I afraid of? Well, that's easy. I'm afraid this will happen, or I'm afraid that'll happen, or I'm afraid someone won't love me anymore, or they'll persecute me, or they'll think I'm crazy. All of those things start coming out, and then you start realizing, what? I actually believe those things to be true? And then it starts becoming nonsensical. It starts making no sense. It starts becoming illogical. And as soon as you truly allow that negative belief that's out of alignment with you to appear nonsensical, you're at the end of the process of letting it go, as we said.
Okay.
Does that help?
That helps. Thank you.
Is that sufficient?
Yes. I have another question.
Beginning to understand you people. I have a last question. Oh, wait, I have another last question.
So I'm going to be going to Sedona at the end of this month
All
because
right.
that's exciting to me.
Yes.
And I want to make contact with galactic beings.
Well, you're making contact with one right now.
I know.
What am I, as you say, chopped liver? Not galactic enough for you?
No, this is very exciting. I'm happy to be here.
One moment.
Yes.
We picked up on a thought somewhere out there. Because when we said, oh, we're getting to understand you, this is a last question, oh wait, I have another last question. If you really think about it, it's actually the first time you've asked the last question because you're a different person. You understand?
Yes.
We were making a joke, but there is truth in the joke that just because one of you, one version of you said, I have a last question, doesn't mean that you're not a new person asking a last question too.
Oh, wow.
Just so you have a bigger picture of this idea. Not so linear. Anyway, back to insulting your galactic friends. Follow your excitement. Do you remember the formula? To the best you can with zero assumption or insistence on what the outcome ought to be because you don't know what it really needs to be. You remember that?
Yes.
So if you're excited to go to Sedona if you can. And if you do wind up there, just be there and follow your excitement the best you can. Drop any insistence on what you think is supposed to happen and allow what needs to happen to happen. That's what's going to serve you best because your physical mind doesn't know what would actually be best for you to have happen. Are you willing to do that?
Yes.
Then just do that and see what happens. You may actually be surprised that whatever does happen actually does in fact serve you better than the thing you thought needed to happen,
Okay.
whether in the short or long term. And again, please remember, we are communicating with you right now, but this is